All right, so once the applicants are ready to begin the submission experience, they're going to go ahead and go to the account creation page, enter their information, and press submit. This will then bring them to the online submission form. And this is the first element that makes up the overall important profile concept within Reviewr. And the profiles are important because they're not just online forms, they actually hold on to all the activity about the applicants. So of course it is going to have the form, but also things like file uploads, communication, results, and thinking bigger picture, it allows them to come back, access feedback, even fill out additional phases or additional forms. Now, as far as the application process itself goes, everything here is going to be custom. And what I mean by custom is that it's going to collect whatever custom data requirements that your organization has. And much of that's going to be specific to your program. And the best part about what we do here at Reviewr is that we work with so many organizations in such a wide variety of industries that we've literally seen everything. And what that means for you is that we have features for literally everything. So today we're going to talk through some of the more common high-level use cases and modules that make up the forms. Right off the bat is going to be personal information. So things like who they are, email address, addresses, and that makes up the user element. And that's important because that gives you guys the power to do mailing addresses. You can mass email from the tool. It's kind of the starting block of that profile. As we move on, you're going to start to get deeper into more of the program specific questions. And that's where that list of features really becomes infinite. It could be simple things like drop downs and checkboxes. It could be things like text entry, and all of those elements have an additional layer of enhancement. So for example, for text entry, maybe you're doing like short answers and essays. That gives you guys the power to do things like character limitations to keep people all consistent within the constraints that you want the team to have. If you're doing things like drop downs and checkboxes, maybe you're utilizing those modules as a way to categorize your applicants. And if you're doing that, a couple things have to happen. Number one is that the system has to know what category that they're choosing, and on the back end, it's going to lump them together and create buckets for you. During the submission process, the form can even recognize the choice that was made and say, oh, hey, because you chose this answer, I'm now going to display you relevant questions because you chose something. That way you can get hyper specific in the type of data you're capturing based on how applicants are interacting with your process. As we continue down through here, you're going to get into some more, program specific features. And I want to touch base on a couple of them here. So for example, things like letters of recommendation, transcripts, resumes, all that has a built-in module specific to the use case. So for example, letters of recommendation. Maybe you want the applicants to put in the name and address of who's going to write the letter. And it's going to trigger a notification. It's going to send that person an email, and it's also going to have a link. And so when the person writing the letter clicks upload, it's actually going to add the letter of recommendation back to the applicant's profile. We call that a guest attachment, also used for things like transcripts. You're also going to see a section for adding files. Now, files and multimedia is one of the main elements within Reviewr. And the main reason behind that is that we integrate with about 86 different file types. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means that when you guys as admins or the review teams are looking at submissions, they of course can download documents, but more importantly, all of those files will get embedded into the system. So that means that they can evaluate them side by side. They don't have to worry about not having programs, accessibility to download the documents. Everything stays consistent and easy to access in a simple, organized tool. And then the last thing we're going to look at here is payment. So if you want to, you can actually allow applicants to pay to apply. And when you do payment, you guys have the full power and flexibility of setting rates. So a certain rate per application, member versus non-member rates, early versus normal payment periods, things like that. So the last thing we're going to talk about is the experience. So the applicants, as they fill this out, they have the option to save, log out, they can come back later. And that's important because there's a strong likelihood that they're not going to do this in one sitting. So we want to make sure that we give them the ability to work at their own pace, as well as kind of foreshadowing, giving you guys as admin the ability to track them and see what their progress looks like. Once the applicants are done, we don't want them to press submit and then be left wondering, well, what's next? So within Reviewr, they're going to be sent a notification email as well as sent to a thank you page.